Hi, I'm John Muir, and a few years ago I wrote a book called How to Keep Your Volkswagen Alive, a manual of step-by-step procedures for the complete idiot. It's been one of my dreams to make available a tape of Volkswagen sounds, to help you diagnose any air-cooled Volkswagen, yours, a friend's, one you're checking out to buy, like that. Now you can compare the sounds on the tape with the sounds your car is making. To start, we'll give you the sound of a normal car to listen to. If your Volkswagen is in good condition, it'll sound a lot like our test car. Here it is, starting up and idling. Here it is, accelerating through the gears. And braking to a stop. If your car sounds much different, if it sounds like this, for example, or like this, you have work to do. Your car, your Volkswagen, is constantly talking to you. Every minute you're in it, driving through traffic, on the highway, on the freeway, it's communicating. All you have to do is meditate a little, get with it, open your ears, and really listen to it. And it'll tell you exactly what it needs. Or it'll tell you when it doesn't need anything. Okay, let's get on with it. Your car's making weird noises, and you want to know what they mean. Get out your flowchart and find number 1. Are you having trouble starting your engine? If you are, there are several possibilities. The starter's not turning the engine over at all, in which case there's no sound made. Or you hear a clicking noise, like... Or it may just grind and grind and grind. If one of these things is happening, silence, just clicks, or an engine turning over very slowly, open your Volkswagen book to Chapter 7 and run the procedure on checking the battery, starter, solenoid, and switch. Another possibility is that the starter is swinging the engine around like a banshee, and it still won't start. Go on to the same chapter, 7, to the procedure for checking the fuel and ignition systems, and run that. Okay, let's get on down the flowchart to number 2. With the car out of gear, that is, with the gear shift in neutral, clutch pedal up, start the engine and let it idle. Now rev the engine a few times. Listen. If your car sounds unusual, you might have a loose door, fender, or window, or your tailpipe could be banging against your bumper, or some of that sheet metal shrouding around your engine could be rattling. Here's a sample of a loose door. And here's a loose tailpipe. noises have nothing to do with the operation of the engine, just a piece of sheet metal clattering. To trace it, go around the car and the engine and press on various pieces of sheet metal until you locate the rattle. Watch out for that fan belt. First, we'll eliminate transmission noises from the action by pushing down the clutch. If the sound goes away, you've got a transaxle problem. If you made more noise or added a new noise by pushing down the clutch, you've got a clutch thing. But if there's no change, let the clutch up and let's get down to analyzing what your engine is trying to tell you. First, I'd like to present a little symphony of noises. Engine noises on sound. Engine missing at low RPM. Holy muffler. An engine with fuel delivery problems engine with a high RPM miss. Squealing distributor shaft. Cam noise. Now listen to an engine with a cracked or broken pulley. An engine with loose valves. Then one with a bent fan. Car running with a worn generator bearing. Here's what your car sounds like with a foreign object in the fan. One with a loose fan. Engine with loose heads. One with a broken crankshaft. A similar noise is made by a loose flywheel. The dirt of a loose connecting rod. That'll raise your hair a little. These sounds are really subtle. And so, if you get them the first time and you really can hear them, you have a very good ear. Sometimes you have to listen to them 2 or 3 times on the tape and listen to your car 2 or 3 times to really determine exactly what it is you're hearing. Be patient with yourself. One of the noises your engine may make is a cylinder not firing, which is called a miss. Here's a normal engine idling on all 4 cylinders. Now, let's listen to an engine that's missing on 2 cylinders. An engine misses or misfires when the gas and air mixture in a cylinder doesn't explode when it's supposed to. You hear a miss as a break in the normal beat of the engine, as if it skipped a beat, which is exactly what happens. Missing engines will also lose power, so that you'll have to go up hills in a lower gear, and you won't be able to get up speed as fast as you're used to. There are several possible causes for misfiring. Low-speed miss is caused by a tight valve or some other kind of compression loss, and usually disappears at higher RPM. So listen again as we first idle and rev a normal engine, and after a pause, do the same thing with an engine missing at low RPM, and notice how the miss disappears as the engine speeds up. An engine will sometimes miss only at high RPM. So listen first to a normal engine idling and revved, then, after a pause, to an engine with a high RPM miss, idling and revving. And notice how the rhythm breaks and you hear those funny coughs and whistles at high engine speed. An engine with fuel delivery problems will also miss irregularly, like this. First, normal engine, then one with an irregular miss. One of the things that it would be nice to remember as you listen to the tape is that some of these tune-up sounds are a little hard to determine one from the other. So what I suggest is that the first time that you notice that your car has lost performance or is doing something a little bit out of the ordinary, run a tune-up, adjust your valves, and then go through the whole thing in Chapter 10, get it timed right, get the points set right, and then see if that doesn't correct the trouble. Here's a pig squeal that will drive you up the wall. Normal engine, then one with a squealing distributor shaft. Do the Chapter 10 tune-up on the distributor and put a smidgen of Bosch grease or wheel bearing grease on the distributor shaft where the nylon rider runs. On a VW engine, the generator is driven by the fan belt. So if your noise disappears when you take the belt off, it is coming either from the generator or a crankshaft pulley or a generator pulley. In the types 1 and 2, the fan is on the same shaft as the generator, so fan noises will also disappear when you remove the belt. Please take the damn thing off all the way when you take it off, or it'll wrap you a good one. Don't run the engine for more than 20 seconds with no belt, or you'll ruin your engine. By the way, we're at 2F on the flow chart. Okay, here's a normal engine, then the sound of a car running with a worn generator bearing. If you hear that when the fan belt is on, and it's gone when you take off the belt, off you go to Chapter 8, Procedure for Removal and Installation of the Generator. Now listen to an engine with a cracked or broken pulley. It's a very distinctive click-click. Normal engine, then one with a broken pulley. If that's your noise, be sure to check both the generator and crankshaft pulleys. Chapter 8, generator pulley. Chapter 15, crankshaft pulley. Okay, here are some fan noises. If you have a type 1 or 2, they'll disappear when you take off the fan belt. These noises indicate the same problems on type 3 and 4, but they won't disappear when the belt is removed, because the fan is on the crankshaft. Here's what your car sounds like with a foreign object in the fan. Normal engine, then one with a foreign object in the fan. This is the easiest repair job of all. Remove foreign object. Please turn the engine off before you fool with that fan, or you'll draw back a stub. Before you reinstall the belt, check it. Now's the time to replace it if it's cracked or badly worn. Here's a normal engine, then one with a bent fan. To repair this, you got to straighten the fan you got, or put on a new one. Chapter 8, Removal and Installation of the Generator. Now here's a normal engine, then one with a loose fan. Notice how the noise disappears in the higher ranges. If your car makes this noise, the solution is, of course, to tighten the fan. Type 4 and 72 and later bus owners, your fan is a different design and probably won't have problems. For types 1 and 2, go to Chapter 8, Removal and Installation of the Generator, and do what it says. For the Type 3, find the engine equipment assembly procedure in Chapter 15 and go on down to where you tighten the fan. If tightening the bolt doesn't eliminate the noise, you'll have to drop the engine and repair or replace the fan. Okay, first you'll hear a normal engine, then an engine with loose valves. The remedy for this condition is to go to Chapter 10 and run the valve adjustment procedure. 2H on the flow chart. There's an illegal noise your engine makes that's related to the exhaust system, the system that takes the burnt gases out and puts them into the air. So listen to the distinctive engine noise made by a hole in the muffler. Here goes. Holy muffler. That noise comes either from where the muffler attaches to the engine or from the muffler itself. So either tighten up the nuts or install a new muffler. Chapter 17.
This program is continued on the reverse side of this cassette. Press the fast forward button until the tape player stops before turning your cassette to side 2.
And here they are, folks. The heavies. Engine overhaul time.
Right.
First, a deceptively subtle villain. Normal engine, then one with a cam noise. It sounds just like a loose clicking, and sometimes it disappears at higher RPM. You might think it's a broken pulley, but it doesn't disappear when you take off the fan belt and the pulleys look okay. Or you might think it's a loose valve, but it doesn't disappear when you've adjusted the valves. The cause of this noise is either a loose cam gear or badly worn cam bearings. In either case, an engine overhaul is required. Please do not fix just the camshaft, but do everything you can to make your engine like new while the case is apart, which it will be to get at those cam repairs. The engine overhaul procedure is in Chapter 15. Now, the sound of our normal engine again, followed by an engine with loose heads. This little jewel, the sound of loose heads, happens all too often in a Volkswagen engine. The best and really only thing to do is to pull the engine out and overhaul it, because if the heads have been loose for quite a while, they're going to be warped. If you're out on the road, however, you might want to get under there, take the valve covers off, pull the rocker arm assemblies off, and tighten the lower nuts that hold the head on. There's 4 on each side. You can't get at the upper 4. The point here is that loose heads will destroy your case in a very, very short while, because that rattling around will crack the case where the studs are screwed into it. If you hear this noise, get on it straight away. How to remove and install rocker arms is in the engine mantling procedure, Chapter 15. Be sure to adjust the valves before starting the engine. Let's get on to one of the distinctive noises which I hope you'll never hear in your Volkswagen, but sometimes happens. The rattlesnake song, the death song of a Volkswagen connecting rod. First the normal engine, then the dirt of a loose connecting rod as the engine is alternately revved and backed off. Notice how the rod knock noise flutters in and out as you're accelerating accelerating the engine until it's loaded. It's a very easy sound to determine if you know exactly what you're listening for. So now let's listen to a normal engine, then one with a rod knock. Listen for the dirt, 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 dirt. Just something. If your engine sounds like that one, get it apart and give it a complete overhaul. Chapter 15. Here's a noise that won't occur too often, only after an engine has been overhauled and you put the pistons in upside down. Here goes a normal engine, then an engine with upside down piston. You know the remedy. Do it over. Put the pistons in right side up. Once in a while, a crankshaft will break. And when it does, it sounds like this. Normal engine, one with a broken crankshaft. A similar noise is made by a loose flywheel. Let's listen to a normal engine followed by one with a loose flywheel. If you hear either of these, you have to pull the engine, then determine which you have, Chapter 15. A sharp machinist may be able to help with the loose flywheel without doing an overhaul, but don't get your hopes up. That's all the engine sounds. Now, meditate for a minute, then listen again to the symphony. Engine missing at low RPM. Holy muffler. An engine with fuel delivery problems engine with a high RPM miss. squealing distributor shaft. Cam noise. Now listen to an engine with a cracked or broken pulley. An engine with loose valve. Then one with a bent fan. Car running with a worn generator bearing. Here's what your car sounds like with a foreign object in the fan. One with a loose fan. Engine with loose heads. One with a broken crankshaft. A similar noise is made by a loose flywheel. The dirt of a loose connecting rod. Can you hear the differences now? Let's go on to the next part of the tape and section 3 of the flowchart. Back at the beginning of the engine section, we had you push your foot down on the clutch to isolate the engine from the transmission. And the gizmo between the engine and the trans is the clutch. If you added a noise as you pushed in the clutch, you were told you had a clutch problem. So now let's listen to a normal engine as the clutch is pushed down and let back up again. You see, there isn't any difference at all. Well, that's the way it should be. Now we're going to push down and let up the clutch on a car with a worn throwout bearing. To fix the bum bearing, you have to pull the engine, replace the bearing, and reinstall the engine, Chapter 15. Now, put the car in gear and slowly let the clutch up, listening for this noise. That's a bum pilot bearing. This bearing is located at the front of the engine. Front is front of the car, and supports the trans input shaft. When it goes, it makes that weird howling noise. To fix it, go to Chapter 15. In types 1, 2, and 3, the pilot bearing is in the gland nut. In late buses, it's in the end of the crankshaft. Cars with automatic transmissions don't have them. Okay, here are some more clutch-related problems. First of all, if you can't shift comfortably without grinding gears, either your clutch is badly out of adjustment or you have clutch linkage problems, like the cable is frayed or the linkage itself isn't operating. For these clutch problems, you are hereby referred to Chapter 13. If the clutch slips, the same thing is true. If you have a slipping clutch, you'd feel that the engine is going faster than it normally should at a given road speed. You need to adjust it, but if you can't adjust out the slipping, you have no choice. You have to pull the engine for Chapter 15 and install a new clutch plate. Check all the linkage at the same time. Let's move on to the next section of the flow chart, number 4, transaxle problems. Earlier on, we had you push down the clutch at idle to see if your noise changed. If it did, we told you had a transaxle problem, and that's what you've got, a bad input shaft bearing. Here it is. Listen to the howl and notice how it disappears when the clutch is pushed down. The various peaks and low points of this sound are caused by pushing the clutch down and letting it up. If you hear these variations, you're up for some transaxle repairs because that bearing has to be replaced. Now let's take the car out on the road and run it through the gears. An obvious indication of transaxle problems is popping out a gear, any gear. Another indication of trouble is a noise something like this. Notice you hear it in all the gears. This is the sound of a worn ping and Rinian gear. This is the sound of a worn ring and pinion gear, and it's not likely you want to ride around very long in a car groaning like that. Everything the book covers on transaxle work is in Chapter 14. We feel these repairs require a professional. You may sometimes hear body and chassis parts rattling when the car is moving. These noises are annoying and may be confusing, but they don't affect the running of your car. Here's a sample. That's a pretty far-out example, but you get the idea. On to the wheels and axles, Section 6. If you have a pre-1968 bus or a pre-1973 Safari, known locally as the Thing, you have reduction boxes. They're in the rear end near the wheels. Give a listen to the sound of reduction boxes going bad. Remember, you're coasting in neutral and the engine is silent. If that's the sound you're getting, go to Chapter 14 and work over your reduction boxes. By the way, they're called transfer cases in the book. The next thing is wheel bearings, both front and rear. Find a lonely stretch of road, get up to about 35 miles an hour, put the gear shift in neutral to let the engine idle so there's no engine noise to confuse you, and swerve the car back and forth across the road. Make sure there's no one else coming to interfere with your joy. The idea is to listen for this sound. This is what we call a ballsy rumble in the book, the sound of a bad wheel bearing. As you swerve the car back and forth, you'll find that it'll be the loaded side, the side away from the way you're turning, that'll rumble. If your noise is coming from the front, go to Chapter 11. If it's coming from the rear, it's Chapter 14. The sound of a bad wheel bearing could very easily be confused with worn-out disc brakes, but if you're going to work over your front wheels anyway, that's the first thing you'll come to. If your car has constant velocity joints, read Chapter 14 to find out. Anyway, if you have CV joints and you're doing the swerving bit, you may hear this noise. It's that da-da-da-da sound. Remember, you're coasting in neutral and the engine is silent. If you hear that duh sound as the CV joints are forced back and forth, run the procedure on CV joints. It's all in Chapter 14. Okay, let's get on to worn brakes. Section 7. And that's the lovable sound of metal against metal. So you should have fixed your brakes already. Chapter 11 for a brake job. Get on this one right away. Bad brakes are dangerous. Now listen to some squealing brakes. These could be caused by dirty brake linings, glazed brake linings, or merely by brake linings. Maybe new ones that squeal. But check them. The next noise we're going to give you indicates a fuel and tune-up problem. Pinging will happen if your engine is timed too fast or if you're using cheap gas. Listen for the tinkle, almost like breaking glass. If you hear pinging, the best cure is to pull a car over to the side of the road, go to Chapter 10, and do that part of the tune-up procedure, which has to do with timing. Retard the timing. Even if it's set correctly, retard it a little. Stop that pinging before you bust something. If you're in the States, stop buying that low-octane gas. But if you're in Mexico, you have to buy low test because the high test has no lead in it. Never use unleaded gasoline in an air-cooled Volkswagen engine. The reason why unleaded gasoline should not be burned is that the lead is required to lubricate the valves as they move up and down. If you must use low-octane fuel, retard the timing until the pinging stops. Sometimes your engine will continue to run after you turn the key off, like this. Real quickly, put it in gear, foot on brake, and let the clutch out. That'll stop it. It's hard on the crankshaft to allow the engine to run on this way. If you experience this run-on, or what the professionals call dieseling, your engine is too hot, or your automatic fuel cutoff jet, which many carburetors have, isn't operating, or you're using that cheap gas. If you hear your car making any sounds that aren't on this tape, you might be able to use a professional ear to help you. But with this tape, your ears, and a compression check, you should be able to diagnose almost any problem. And your car could sound like our test car tripping off into the sunset. Love and good road.